Hi, this is the third video of my Working with Files series. And what we're going to do with this one is take the programs that we wrote in the first two and combine them all together into one file. And what we'll do is take those programs and convert them into functions to run in here. Now, it's not going to be perfect. Okay, there's going to be a lot of material that's going to be repeated in here that could be split out into separate functions and only have to be put in one time. But this is the way I'm going to do it for here just to kind of show you how this works. So the first thing we're going to need to do is import our OS because that's going to be needed in a couple of the functions. I'm going to then go ahead and open up from here, and I want to get the right one. So this is in my testing that I'm in here for. I'm going to open up my add friend, and I'm going to copy the whole thing, except I don't want to do the calling the main on there because we're going to change this. Do a Control C, come over here, and do a Control V. I can close this off. So I'm going to change main here to add friend. Okay, everything else can stay the same on here. If I wanted to make this more generic, I could input the file name and then change these in here to the file, this to the file name, and do it that way. But this isn't generic, it's for the contact thing on here, so I'm going to leave it that way. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up the display here. Again, I'm going to copy the whole thing except for the main part down there. I get that in my last one that I do. Come down here to the end and paste that one in here and change this to display friends. Okay, everything else is the same here. Since I'm opening and closing the files inside these functions, I don't need to import anything on here. And since everything's going to the file and all that, I don't need to export anything or return anything on here. So let me go ahead and down here, I'm going to open up, I can close this one off here because I don't need it now, and I can get the next one, which is a search. Again, copy and paste. And change this one to search friend. Everything else will be the same in here. Get that in there, close this one off. And next one is the modify. So it's a little bit longer. I don't need the import OS because I've already put that in there. So come all the way down here and get all this. Paste that in. Change the name to modify friend. Okay, and then we have the delete to put in here. And close this one. And again, we don't need the import on that, so we'll leave that off of there. This time I'm going to go ahead and get the main part down here, because we will be creating a main. And that way I have that in there, I don't have to type it in. And change this to delete friend. Okay, so I got all those in here now. Now the other thing I could have done, I didn't do this, is that we could have just imported all these in here and then called them. And that would have been probably a little bit more efficient than this, but this is what I wanted to show you on here how to do this part of this. So, okay, now what this program is going to be, this is going to be a menu-driven program. so that the person can pull up, will have the program pull up a menu and then choose what they want to do from it, rather than having to know which one to run or to run them all at the same time or whatever. So I'm going to create in here, do that right in here. A function I'm going to call menu. Okay. And so this is going to then print out the menu for all these. So I'm going to just create the menu for all this here. Put a little heading on it. Here, let me pull this up so I can bring this down a little bit and get a little bit of room in here. Whoops, no, it's not going to help any, so never mind. Do a little bit like that. Okay. So our first choice, get that out of the way there, is going to be add a friend. 2 is going to be display friends. 3 is going to be search for friend. 4 is going to be modify a friend's information. 5 is going to be delete a friend. And 6 is going to be to quit the program. Okay, so let's just take a look at that and see all that on there. So what we need to do is get what their choice is. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do choice is going to be equal to input, enter your choice. I'm going to tell them 1 through 6. On that, we're going to print out a blank line at this point so that it separates that when it does the output, and then we're going to return choice back to the main menu. Okay. So what I want to do here is create our main function. So in main, what we're going to do is we're going to display the menu and then determine what choice they make and call the correct function for that. So choice is going to be equal to menu, and then we'll do a while loop. While choice does not equal 6, and I have this in quote marks because these are string values on here. We're inputting the value as a string, not as an integer on there. Now, one of the things that I see people do all the time is instead of doing this first, they'll do while true, and then they'll enter the menu or display the menu and get the value that the person enters. They'll process everything, and then at the bottom they'll say if choice equals 6, break. Well, that defeats the purpose of the while loop. Okay, so the purpose of the while loop is to do something until a specific condition is met. So that's what I'm doing here. So while choice does not equal 6, we'll go in here and process this. If our choice equals 1, then we want to call add friend. Else if our choice equals 2, we want to call our display friends. Else if our choice equals 3, we want to call our search friend. Else if choice equals 4, we're going to call our modify friend. Else if choice equals 5, we're going to call our delete friend. And then I'm going to do an else here that I don't need for this because it's already going to check to see if it's a 6, it's never going to go in here. But I'm not going to check for 6, but I'm going to check for anything else. We know it. We know it can't be 6 because it would not go in here if it was a 6. But what if they accidentally hit a 7 when they were trying to hit 6? So we want to catch that. So we're going to do an else print and do invalid choice. Please enter 1 through 6. Okay, and then we'll get choice again. Okay? And that's the whole program. So a couple of things here. First of all, we broke this down, starting with the first video, into separate programs. Made sure that they were all working and everything. Then we tied them all together. Another way we could have done this, okay, is that we could have created each of these, or let's say one at a time. So with our add friend, we could have just put in here a print statement inside add friend. There's nothing to return, so we don't have to worry about that. And then down here, we go ahead and create our menu, and then we would just do this, and we know that this is going to be the only one that's working, so that would be the only choice we do other than 6. If it comes back and says inside add friend, we know that this part of it works. Now we can go in and put in the code for the add the friend up in here, okay, to make sure you get all that in there, and then run it and make sure that it's adding friends. Then we do the display friends, same way. If we come up with an error, the error has to be inside display friends or the way display friends interacts with the rest of the program. But we don't have the whole thing. We don't have places where there could be errors all over the place in here. Okay, so either doing it as separate programs and then bringing them together, or just doing them as separate functions as we go along through here, those are ways to be able to minimize your problems as you're coding. So I'm going to go ahead and get this saved. Make sure I'm in the right one, which I am in testing. I'm going to call this contacts.py and save this. Okay, I'm going to go into my folder, which is this one here, and the test, this one here, and the testing, and then I'm going to delete out my friend one here. So I'm starting with a new one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run this. There's our menu on there. I'm going to do a 1 to add. Enter the name. I'm going to do Bill 45 333-3333, and I'm just going to press enter. Okay. Comes back here. I can do a 2 to display. There's my information for Bill. Okay. So now I'm going to add another name. Sally. She's 43 555 5555. I'm going to quit this one again. I'm going to do 2 to display, and now I have Bill and Sally. Okay. Everything's working great on here. So now I'm going to do one more. I'm going to add one more on here. So I'm going to do a 1. Add Larry. He's 23 222 2222. Quit. Display. Now I have the 3 on there. Okay. So I'm going to do a search. Let's search for Jack. Oh, Jack's not in there. Okay. Well, then let's search for Mary. Oh, Mary's not in there. Let's search for Bill. There's Bill. Everything works great. Bill just had a birthday, so we're going to modify Bill. We're going to change his birthday from the 45 that it was to 46. Phone number is going to stay the same. Okay. It does not print any information up here. We could have put in a message in there that says the record's updated, but the information's right here. So we can go ahead and display this, and we can see that Bill was changed to 46. Okay. I'm going to do one more modify. I'm going to modify Jack again. Age 56, 444, 4444, and it comes up on there. The thing is, though, that we didn't modify anything for Jack, so I'm going to do a display on here, and nothing's in there. So we should have had a message printing out on that was stating that Jack was not found in there. Okay, so those are things that you look at when you run these on here. I'm not going to go in and modify this for that right now. I just wanted to show you that. Let's do a 5 on the delete. I want to delete Greg. It says the item was not found. So we're going to do 5 again, and we'll delete Sally. The file has been updated, so now I can display again, and Sally's not in there. Okay. So then I can do a 6 that will exit, and I probably should print a message saying thank you for using my program. Okay. So hopefully this is helpful for you on working with files. In the next set that I'm going to do, someplace in some of the new ones that I'm going to do, instead of, I'll show you this in the, bring up the friends. Whoops, I got it opened up over here. That's the wrong one. So let me open up the one that we were working on here. That's what we have left in there. What I would do on the next one that I'm be working with our files, when we get into lists and dictionaries and those, I use a list, and we can put Bill 46 and the phone number all on the same line, separated by commas or something else. I'd use commas in this case, and then we can split those off of there. That would split into a list rather than having them all on separate lines like this. So we can read in a record and then modify it from there, or do whatever we need to. So that would be in the upcoming videos. So if you have any questions or anything, send them out. Let me know what you think of the videos. Thanks a lot. Bye.